at the beginning, I just mixed my ultramarine blue with my radiant magenta and a little bit of radiant turquoise, kind of create this shape. And I was just telling everyone that I kind of want to create the idea of a vignette, right? Like an abstract kind of element that the portrait can kind of sit within. So it's kind of like what I'm doing right here. So right now, the first thing I'm going to do, because this is like a straight on portrait, I'm just going to kind of create like this nice little x-axis or this little cross intersection right here. Okay. This way, it allows me to kind of get an overall idea of where I kind of want everything to be. Oh, can you guys see, by the way? Like, can you guys see okay? People online, can you guys see okay?
Yeah, everything looks good.
Yeah. It's not like unclear, hopefully.
No, it looks perfect.
Perfect. All right, cool. Yeah, Ada, what about you? Can you see everything?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, cool. So right now what it is I'm doing is I'm just kind of squinting. I'm just kind of going back and forth, right? And for this, I'm still going to go in and paint with a bit of an idea of just trying to nail down that initial blocking, right? Because the more of the blocking that we're able to nail down at the beginning, the less of a headache we will actually have. So I'm going to go in and maybe get a little bit of dark right there. And then after that, I'm going to say, okay, cool, what is this shape right here? Like that's probably going to go a little more, right? Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, cool, from here to here, I see this shape right there. And after that, this goes down like so. After that, this is like here. After that, it's going to go up like so. And that means this dark is actually going to be somewhere here. You guys see that? And then after that, just going to go here and just kind of create a bit of this dark right there. Okay. All right. I'm going to go in a little bit more with my transparent oxide, tiny bit of my Gamsol. The reason why I'm using Gamsol here is just because I want the paint to kind of dry. And the more I liquefy the paint, the more it's going to dry. Okay. And then I'm now just purely looking at overall negative shapes that's in between the positive shapes here. Get that in. Okay. Get this in like so. Get that dark shape within. But overall, just trying to get the overall idea of the separation of light and dark. What's up?
How do you decide the color for this underpainting? When you decide this color?
The blue?
No. Like what you're doing right now, like this brown.
Just because I think I talked about this before too, where I was saying that warmer earth tone colors or warmer brown colors usually create like nice space for underpaintings, just because the warm values usually like help colors kind of like push it and recede in. And usually when we're painting and underpainting, we're kind of painting shadows. Right?
Shadows.
Yeah, I repeat this all the time because like remember, if the shadow is cool, it's not going to look like a shadow. It's going to look like this weird rock or this weird thing that's kind of protruding out. Remember when I was talking about like if you were like painting a nostril, right? If you were to paint that nostril warm, it'll look like a nostril, but if you paint it like cool, it's gonna look like a rock that's like within your nose. So gotta be careful with that. Anyways, so right now, what I'm gonna do is I'm just kind of going in. And I feel like I kind of want that head to kind of recede within this area. So, I get that in. But yeah, does that kind of make sense? Like, we usually want our underpainting to be a little bit more warmer. it just makes everything a little easier, right? That way, even if we have things like, have the underpainting kind of shine through the overall painting, it still look good. Okay. But like I said, at this moment, all I'm concerned about is just like the overall shape, right? All right. So right now, I'm going to go in and start separating everything, at least in terms of two values, right? So I'm going to go in for perhaps even three values. Let's do three values. So the first value I'm going to do is like a slightly darker shadow right here. So I'm going to go in and taking a look at that color, I'm going to mix in my Viridian ultramarine blue, a little bit of my transparent oxide, a little bit of cadmium red, orange, maybe a little bit more yellow, just to get something like nice and dark. And go in, and maybe I feel like this can even go a little lighter too. Okay. So this is kind of like what I'm going to be doing. So I'm just kind of going in and I'm just kind of covering out the values where it's a bit more dark. Hopefully this is making sense to everyone. Anyone have a question so far? No? Not really? Okay.
I think it's such a darker than in the picture.
Mhm.
I guess it doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter right now because, like I said, you can always adjust. Right? And it's usually better to have something a little darker as opposed to having it too light. You know what I mean?
So it applies here, like making it more compressed.
Yeah,
at the very
because
beginning.
because it's a waste of time when we try to get it perfect. It's a waste of time because you're gonna have to because like in right now it may look darker, but later when I actually add more elements, that might change too. You know what I mean? So right now just get it roughly just there, right? Because remember we're doing olive print have to be completed in 2 to 3 hours. You know what I mean? So if we waste time just trying to make the perfect color, you're wasting time. So just be careful of that, right? Yeah. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go in and just actually try, like my whole goal right now is I'm very much just trying to like cover up everything, right? Trying to cover up everything as much as I can because I'm trying to get all the elements and values on there. And I'm just trying to get them in a bit of a ballpark range, right? Let's see, who just arrived here? Oh, Yuji, when did you get here? Oh, okay. So yeah, you can watch the demonstration if you want. You can paint alongside it if you want to, but I don't think you'll have that much time. So whatever you want to do. Okay. Yeah, next time try to come a little earlier then. That way you can set up.
Yeah. Is there other art class there? And it ends right as this class starts, so I kind of have to do it.
Oh, it's okay. All right. So now what I'm doing is I'm introducing that secondary value right here. See what I'm saying? Secondary value is basically going to be slightly, I guess, lighter than the first initial dark, but I'm going to actually, but it's still going to be a little darker than the lightest value that I'm going to introduce later on. Okay. All right. So now what I'm doing is I'm actually going in and I'm going to create a bit more of a warmer value, like right down below here. Just a little bit. Still going and venturing into those three values, right? This might just be a little bit more warmer. Okay. All right. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get started with introducing that lighter value, or the lightest value right now. So I'm going to introduce a little bit more white, a little bit more, perhaps a little bit more of a cooler yellow, just because this middle yellow right here is a bit more warm. See what I'm saying? So, what's up? Yeah, oh, yeah, just make sure that you can see. Okay. All right. And this is basically going to be like the lightest value, at least for right now. I'm going to introduce. And right now, I'm actually going in for a little bit more of an exaggerated, like, value separation. Just because I really want to get a really clear divide between the dark, medium, and light. That way I can always constantly kind of play around, go back, and start adjusting if I need to. If that makes sense. And even here, it's going in a little bit more towards like the blue, actually. And over here, it's going in for, I guess, a little bit of red, just because that's yellow, blue, and let's go for a little bit of the light red, at least for right now. And like I said, everything can still change. If that makes sense. So at least for now, this is kind of like what I want to, just try to end up with, which is the overall values, the overall shapes. Okay. Next, I want to get that in. So I'm going to bust down my alizarin crimson and a little bit of this. This is quinacridone magenta, but it's just another type of red. So go ahead a little bit more like blue, just to knock that back just a little bit of white. Some that red, then a little bit more lighter value. Add just a little bit of my titanium white and some of that radiant. That's radium magenta. Yeah. Getting in there like so. Then, of course, going into slightly darker, cool darks. And this is when cool darks can start getting incorporated, just because, as you can see, what I'm painting here isn't something that's received in, it's something that's protruding outwards, right? So, aka like the dark of, kind of like the lip of the dog. I don't know if that's what it's called, but yeah. Add a little bit of alizarin crimson and a little bit of transparent oxide here to create like a nice dark warm. And so introduce that there as well. Any questions so far on what I'm doing? That makes sense?
I think if I look at darker, cooler dark.
Yeah, so as you can see, this is a bit of a cooler dark.
Yeah.
You can see it's like little leaning more towards like the blue purple kind of area, right? And the whole reason why, I mean, first of all, it is a little bit more cool if you were to take a look at the reference, right? But if you were to really think about it a little bit more in terms of like what I was saying before, since you were asking me like, why did I use warm? Well, like I said, warm helps things really like receive in, right? This is not receiving in. This is something that's kind of, it's an element that's kind of pushing out a little bit more. So that's also more reason for me to kind of make this into more of a core as opposed to having this, which is kind of receding, and that's like a bit of a shadow there, as opposed to an actual object that's dark. Does that make sense?